So about a month and a half ago, I purchased and reviewed a T-Mobile whole home internet. Now, this is essentially a 5G gateway that you put in your house. It connects to the T-Mobile network, and then you can get your internet that way. So I was skeptical at first, like most of you, but after using this for a month and a half, it worked really well. Really no issues as far as outages. And just like they promised, the price was $50 a month, no tax, one flat rate. So it does a great job. The price is right and the speeds are pretty good. But before you purchase, there are a couple things you need to think about before you make the switch. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So first thing that this unit cannot do by itself, this cannot reserve your IP addresses. Now, if you're like me, you have your printers, you have certain servers that has a certain IP address that you want to have it keep that IP address. Because the user interface is pretty basic, you can't really go in, dedicate IPs for this device. So in order to accomplish that or circumvent that, you will need to attach your own router, and then you can make configuration changes through there. So this is something I definitely recommend. Day one that I received this, the first thing I did was plug in my own router, and that way I can have the configurations that I want. So definitely take that into consideration if you're making the purchase and you're using this as a standalone device. So another thing in this, I receive a lot of questions about this, is can I forward ports with the T-Mobile gateway? And the short answer to that is no. Because you don't have a dedicated external IP address, this is not possible unless they make some changes to this device as well as their network. So ports that I had open with Spectrum are no longer open, guys. Now for me, this is something that really doesn't affect me that much. My cameras still work for the most part. Your Ring doorbells will still work. My Plex server, my NB server still works, and that's because those mostly use cloud-based services. But if you would try to do certain cameras that requires port forwarding, maybe remote desktop, VNC, or something like that from outside your house, it's not going to be possible. And the only workaround that I've heard of, and this is something I'll probably do a future video on, is to actually purchase a VPN service that has that port forwarding feature, and then you can still accomplish the same thing. This service more than likely is going to have to be compatible with the router that you're using, and in my opinion, it is a lot of headache. Just know that there is an option out there. So another thing to take into consideration is this is actually a rebranded Nokia FastMile 5G gateway. So what's important about that is that the actual Nokia version has a lot more features, guys. And one feature that I love is that the Nokia version actually had a way to line up your gateway to the tower, which basically allows you to get the best signal possible. You see right here, it has the 2 points, and all you have to do is line those up, and that ensures that you're getting the best signal. So if you're not aware, this device actually has a lot of antennas built in. Like I said, this is going to depend on how you place it. They do recommend putting next to a window. Second story of your house is preferred if you're in a multi-story home. They do communicate to the tower a certain way, so placement does come into play, but unfortunately the T-Mobile doesn't have it. Well, Nokia does. But what I would do is recommend just turning it every now and again, checking your signal level, and just see which one works best for you. Also keep in mind that T-Mobile did let me know that the telephone port on the back of the device does not work, so that's going to be something they released or update via firmware, so that's not active as of yet. And so is the USB port. The USB-C is not yet active or serves a function, so that's something we're going to have to see what they do with. But everything else should be good to go. You do have the 2 Ethernet ports on there where you can wire in your router, wire in multiple devices, and kind of get that experience if you have your own router. So some people who work from home complain that their VPN doesn't work. As far as your known VPN services like your NordVPN, IPVanish, whatever the case is, I haven't had any issues with those working. I've showed videos where I connected those, still getting decent speeds, and they seem to work with no issues. But something you want to just consider, maybe test out on day one. That way, if it doesn't work for you, you can return the device and start over. As far as your gaming, I've tested it out as well on my PlayStation 5. I didn't have any issues. Some people actually complained that their gameplay was suffering. For me, my ping was about 28 milliseconds. Didn't experience any issue. I'm not a professional gamer by any means. Some people reported higher pings. They were having issues during gameplay, so definitely something you want to test out. Make sure your device is positioned the best to get the best signal from your antennas, and also just get the best speeds. So a couple of things I want to do in future videos. The first one, I do want to purchase the external antenna and hook it up just to see if I get better speeds. I also want to reach out to T-Mobile and see what the ETA is, what they're planning to do as far as making the the gateway more configurable. So I'm not sure if they're going to budge on the port forwarding, but simple things like reserving IP addresses, I feel like that should be something that anyone should be able to go into their router and do. So stay tuned, guys. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.